You just did something absolutely amazing. You hit play on TechVibe. I'm your host, Jonathan Kersting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, where it is my duty and mission to give you a front row seat, all things around Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. So what if AI could help you live well, not just work better? In this episode of TechVibe, I talk with Mike Hruska, founder of Baryons, about how his new platform is redefining what it means to flourish in life and work. After 2 decades leading problem solutions, Hruska's latest venture uses voice-based, human-first technology to help people reflect, reframe, and rediscover their purpose. Drawn from science and positive psychology, Baryons engages users in short, mentor-like conversations designed to boost mental wealth, creativity, and clarity, all while maintaining privacy and emotional safety. So what's Hruska's mission? To democratize human flourishing at scale. And he believes that when people feel centered, purposeful, and connected, they don't just improve their own well-being, they elevate entire organizations. So keep on listening if you want to learn how AI can empower people, not just replace them. This conversation offers a glimpse into the future of technology designed for human potential and how we might just have a new F word on our hands. Let's welcome Mike to the show. Mike, it is so wonderful to have you here in the Huntington Bank studios. You're calling in from Johnstown, your HQ, which I absolutely love. I think Johnstown's one of the coolest corners here in Pennsylvania. And you're building some really cool stuff. And you're no stranger to TechVibe. It's great to have you here with me today.
Glad to be with you. And I'm super excited to share more. It's been something I've been working on a long time.
I know. I feel like this is something you've been working on your entire life. If you don't know Mike Hruska and some of the companies that you've been associated with, that you've started and built and scaled, the most recent, of course, being Problem Solutions. Give us your background just real quick, Mike, and why you're like so stoked about education and, dare I say, this new F word. Flourishing.
Oh,
okay.
We're going to get it. We're going to get deep. We're going to flourish together.
Yes, you know? I like it. That's cool.
But if I say the word flourishing, it makes many people think many things, but really it's just living well. So I, grew up in this area and I got a research opportunity to be at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. My brother joined me there and we were doing all kinds of fun, innovative research and technology development, and decided to move back to Johnstown in 2004 and start a company called Problem Solutions with the idea that we would be like emerging tech mercenaries, kind of like build emerging technologies into competitive advantages for companies with a really human-centered focus, because where like learning, education, training, like intersect with technology, there's so many suboptimal things that are out there. Like technology should just really be improving our lives. And so for the last 12+ years, have been operating with a lot of government research funds to work on hard problems. And when Nick and I started the company, we said, we're going to be the tech mercenaries for other people, but eventually we're going to find the one thing that we could build better than anybody else in the world. And we're going to improve the world with that. And over the last number of years, I've been studying intelligent tutoring, adaptive systems, and really building technology. So last year, we took our technology and we formed Baryons. Now, I don't know if you know what a baryon is. If
Tell
you're
me.
As nerdy about subatomic
and you are
physics as I am.
You are nerdy, so yeah, give us the jam on this, because I think it's kind of cool, and I think our listeners are going to really appreciate how this underpins everything you're doing.
Well, thanks, man. And like quarks, combination of 3 quarks together is what makes up protons and what makes up neutrons. We really live in a baryonic universe. It's kind of that invisible layer that makes the reality that we have. And this is the spirit for what we're doing, because humans are, and how we think, feel, and function, that's truly like this invisible layer for how organizations organize themselves and the energy that they feel. Like, it's a really interesting space.
Yeah, no, it's a lot to unfold, and it's crazy because it's so true. It's that thing you can't quite describe, but when there's bad vibes, when people can't be at their best, it ripples. And I think what you're doing with Baryons is like 100% addressing that with an AI platform. I don't know of any company doing anything quite like this right now. That I've been looking around, and Mike, I think you're onto something very unique and very groundbreaking right now.
I'm really excited because I really want to see impact. The technology that my team has built at Problem Solutions, we impact 1 billion people a day with that technology. But, that's a piece of knowledge or a piece of weather or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Gallup estimates that only 1/3 of the workforce is actually thriving in their well-being. That means 2/3 of the people are going into work or not even going into work, because McKinsey says that this whole idea of global disengagement actually costs the economy nearly $9 trillion every year.
Wow.
Think about that. That's billions of work days. Not
Yeah.
even that. If I'm counting on you and you're disengaged, you don't come to work, that slows me down. The drag of well-being and the lack of it is crazy, to think that 2/3 of the workforce isn't actually flourishing in some ways. And so I just asked the question, like, pretty simple. Can we measure and understand how to help people flourish?
Yeah.
And we can. And we're doing that. There's some really established science that's out there in positive psychology. And so, our Baryons essentially bring that science to life. We have short voice-based conversations. We try to help people think like where they're thriving, where they're stuck, and then we get them back out into the real world. And we help people like reflect on things, reframe, and like have prospection towards the future. It's wild. I get text messages all the time from people, and I've learned so much from our users about how it's truly impacting their life. And for me, my tail wags every time I get one of those text messages.
I could only imagine. Maybe can you like walk us through a scenario as to how somebody would engage with Baryons as being like their mentor that helps them flourish? And also, as I break this question up a little bit, defining the word flourish, I think, is really important, just to keep reiterating the fact that flourishing doesn't mean having millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff. But the idea is being a human being that's functioning in the world, that feels engaged, that feels purposeful. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, I mean, flourishing defined easy is living well. And so what we're trying to do is make living well accessible and measurable and essentially, scalable for someone. And when you think about living well, like when you're flourishing, you have positive emotion. You're engaged in the things that you're doing. Like when we talk about like playing guitar or mountain biking, you're in the flow state. Those things where time slows down or even stops. You have strong relationships. You add to the people around you. They add to you. We talk about meaning, but it's really mattering. It's like feeling like you're participating and those around you care. And then it's some sense of achievement. And really, that's what we're really centered in on, is understanding where someone is and then helping them get back out into the real world with a sense of mattering and momentum towards the future. Now, if you would, ask someone what a mentor is, you played Family Feud. You go out to 100 people, you get all kinds of words: empathy, intelligence, wisdom, and all those things.
Right.
But what a mentor does is helps you see a version of your future self with such fidelity that you have no choice but to become it in some ways. And that's really what flourishing is seeing yourself in the future. So good question. What question can you ask yourself today that your future self would thank you for? That's something a Baryon might ask you. And so people sign up.
Yeah.
You're calling through your phone, like a phone number, like you're calling my Baryon, like your contact card. We are launching a mobile app in the near future that's going to do some other really fun things too. And you're just calling it and you're having short conversations. We find that people talk to it 5.5 to 7 minutes, and then they get momentum to get out into the real world to do things and think about things in maybe a slightly different way.
Well, interesting. So when you call this, does this Baryon, I don't want to call it a bot, and maybe it's a bot. I don't know the correct term to call it, but you're basically interfacing through AI. Is it prompting you with a question, like asking you how you're feeling, or how does it get the conversation started, I guess?
It's having a great conversation with you like a good friend would.
Okay.
So, maybe after a couple of times you've called your Baryon and you haven't called it for a little bit of time, like I'm not going to say, hey, last time, Jonathan, we talked about blank, blank, and blank. I'm going to say, hey, man, how's it going? What's up? Right? And so there's a real human element to conversation. So it's helping you understand you, asking you questions and helping what I say to co-discover things about yourself together.
Right. It's
almost like a Baryon every day.
Okay. So I'm curious. This is almost like mentor, but it's also could be potentially like a little bit of a therapist, maybe, because you could talk about how you're feeling that day. So, I mean, conversations can go in so many different directions. I have to try this. This has me like completely intrigued.
You carry on with your Baryon.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it's a reflection of you and where you want to go and where it thinks you need to go. I mean, so I get asked this question all the time. How's it different than ChatGPT? Well, it has goals to help you, and it has understanding about the way that you think, the way that you reflect on things. And the idea is that based on that, it's reflecting with you and helping ask you questions and helping you discover a life of clarity, confidence, and curiosity. And it's not for just work, and it's not for at home, but it's kind of like for every season. There are three things that we hear over and over again from our users that make me smile. People feel more accountability to themselves. They feel better collaboration or ability to collaborate with others, and more creativity in how they engage with the world. But the one thing that was like, whoa, this is awesome. Talked to a number of users that said, hey, I haven't seen my friend blank in 3 months. And we were chatting. In 10 minutes of the conversation, they said, what's different about you? And they said, it's my Baryon. And they attribute the time that they're taking, the 5 to 7 minutes a day, a couple times a week. And it's the time that they're voting with their Baryon. Because it's really like, this is human first technology. And sure, there is some AI inside of what we're doing, but there's a lot of other, I'll say, magical innovations that make this focused really on human agency. And then the idea that it can help us not just live, but also lead better, whether that's in our business or our community or the things that we're involved in.
Well, all that seems to build on itself, because as you become a more centered human being, if you feel like you're flourishing, then that's just going to start spreading out into all aspects of your life, whether you're at work, whether you're at home, because you're the center of your life, and your life extends out into those areas. That seems very interesting to me. I'm really curious. So as you begin to engage with this, do you have to kind of train it at first? Does it have to get to know you a little bit in order? Because I think everyone's definition of what their feeling of flourishing might be different from person to person. How does this technology kind of like grab onto the user and start to be able to ask the right questions and provide the right feedback and so forth?
Yeah, we essentially refer to it as like a calibration period.
Okay.
It's really over your first 3 phone calls that
Right.
it's helping you understand what it is and how to engage and learning enough about you that it can really start to develop what we call a coherence compass for you.
Okay.
Because if you sit down with someone you don't know and you just start spouting out stories, they can't put that all together.
Right, exactly.
They need to give you a little bit of structure. So, Jonathan, do you play music, or you this or you that? But we don't ask those direct questions. We help people through personal narrative to have a space, a sacred space and a safe space, and a private space and a secure space to be able to share some stories. And from those stories, that really helps the Baryon understand, kind of where to take you to.
That makes sense. Oh my goodness. So I'm just, obviously as you're just launching this out, I'm just really curious to see how people get a hold of this and start using it, and time will tell. But I'm feeling like you're going to be capturing data that is going to be able to help train some of this, and it's going to get better and better because it's going to capture these experiences and be able to use them to provide better and more accurate feedback. You mentioned before, which I know 100% is something that you're looking at, but I always like to just let our listeners know. The idea of security behind it. People, if they're going to be talking to something like this, they're talking pretty personal stuff at some point, right? And the idea of making sure that no one could ever get a hold of that somehow, and find it and align it with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We are. When I say sacred space, I mean sacred space.
Right.
Everything is encrypted and stored away, and the only thing that's really important to us, we understand safety for people.
Okay.
And we've incorporated safety.
Tell me about the safety, because we've heard some of those crazy things where chat has encouraged people to kill themselves and some terrible things like that. And it's oh my God, really? So obviously I know you guys are addressing that. How are you addressing that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you and I were having a chat and you thought that, boy, Mike's saying some things that sound like he might want to harm himself or someone else.
Right.
Or use a CRISPR to bring back dinosaurs to kill humanity. Those are the kinds of things that you might be interested to report to someone along the way.
Yes.
And so we use some autonomous systems to evaluate safety mechanisms.
Okay.
And you mentioned mental health earlier.
Right.
People talk a lot about mental health, and we should, but really this is focused on mental wealth. and building brain capital.
Okay.
Essentially, our VC investors, Blue Ash Ventures, have an affiliated foundation called Blue Ash Foundation, and they have philanthropic efforts to study brain health, and they are releasing those at Davos coming up in 2026.
Wow.
Think about this. Like,
Yeah.
we used to do physical work all the time, and then we stopped doing it, and the gyms came out. Now with AI in our world, how are we going to exercise our brain?
Yeah.
How are we really going to do that? And
Interesting.
Baryons is the way to really keep our brain having neuroplasticity, learning, making meaning, co-creating our future.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So first off, you mentioned your investor. I love hearing that because like a lot of people know they get their companies launched, obviously, and they bootstrap it, which is great. You came out with a pretty nice raise to get this thing started, which shows, people just don't hand out money in this day and age, for lack of a better term. The whole thing is they see some real potential and meaning here to back this. And it's so aligned with what they invest in. This is like a very unique investment firm, right?
Yeah, their focus is really about human potential and brain health, and I just am excited to be surrounded by other portfolio companies and leaders that are all focused on one thing, not making humans necessarily at the secondary point, but making human first technology.
Wow.
And it really fits with my human-centered design background and desire to connect technology just to make life great. Think about this. In the future, how much are we going to type? How arcane is it if I ask you a question and you have to make a answer in your head and put sentences into your arms and words into your hands and letters into your fingers? When we talk to people, it's a radically different form of communication.
Isn't it? 100%. Yeah.
And embracing voice is a critical sort of inflection point for everyone in the future.
I'm a terrible typist, so I'm 100% behind that. So I'm more in the idea of I'm just thinking it and stuff starts happening, but that might be a little down the road. But in the meantime,
Neuralink, man.
I know. It's kind of crazy, but I'm very excited for the creation of this company. I feel like the timing of this obviously couldn't be more perfect. I think no matter what point in time you go back into, people say times are crazy, but I think times are legitimately pretty crazy right now for everybody, and I think being able to have a resource like this can help us make a lot more sense of just how fast tech is moving, how divided everybody is. There's just lots of things going on that are just not good for the human soul, and I feel like this might be a way for people to recapture a little bit of that.
Yeah, look, the Surgeon General has pointed out the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
We know that learning comes on the other side of uncomfortable, but there are a lot of uncomfortable forces, in the world right now. When you couple all the change that's here, we rely on the people that are around us. Not everyone has that right support network, and that's why we are giving away our Baryons. They're free to call up to 3 times a month. I want to democratize human flourishing at scale, and someone could use that friend a couple times a month. But we have a $20 a month version that for people that want deeper guidance. We see a lot of people using it. It's kind of funny. 25% of our users report that they use it in the car while driving, walking the dog, or just taking a walk. And these are those moments where we might have wandering self-talk, and it's a great moment for personal growth, discovery, and building your mental resiliency.
I think it's fantastic.
People want to sign up.
Yeah.
We want to give it to them. So it's www.baryons.com. And if you put the code in PITT, P-I-T-T, then let's jump the wait list.
I like it. We're going to put that in the liner notes of this here conversation because I'm going to sign up because I want to try this out. I'm completely I don't know. I'm entranced by it. I can't wait to see how this all works. I'm really excited for you as well because I feel like you're living your best self right now. First off, you blew my mind when you were telling me how it was 2004 you came back to Johnstown, which I'm so glad you came back to Johnstown. Folks who work on stuff like you work on and do what you do don't have to live in Johnstown. They can live wherever they want in the world. You can do whatever you want in the world where you, in your point in your life, but you stay here, which I think is just freaking amazing. And I've known you over the years, and I've seen how important that this human-centered design is to you, the learning, and to have this kind of all culminate in Baryons now, I feel like has you just completely stoked. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, so tell me, how stoked are you?
Oh, I'm flourishing because I have my
Yeah.
teammates around me flourishing. Everyone at Baryons reports that they have the most important job in the organization, and their job is to help each other flourish, because flourishing is the new F word. F you and F me. Flourish you and flourish me is what I say to the team.
I love it. That is the best way to look at it and turn something kind of negative into something quite positive, just as you always do. And that's why I love having conversations with you. Anything we haven't covered that people just need to know about what's going on with your venture, Baryons?
No, I think we got it. I mean, I'm
Cool.
looking out towards the future and saying,
Yeah.
great, we can help people grow together and lead together and learn together. But there are some other ways that we can actually help bring flourishing into organizations. You know, when I look out into the future, I imagine this future story of some quantum computing startup, of an interdisciplinary team of scientists and engineers and MBAs that designs photosynthetic paint and replaces the need for batteries. And their whole journey was powered by their baryons together. And their baryons help them find friction-free ways to think, collaborate, and work together. That's what drives me. Is I know that we can help people change, but can we help people change the world together?
I love it. Why do I feel like you're working on another company right now? I will leave it at that. Mike Hruska, you are the best. So stoked for the work that you were doing right out of our neighbor in Johnstown. And in case you forgot, this is Jonathan Kersting. I am with the Pittsburgh Tech Council and TechVibe Radio. And my God, conversations like this just keep me going. Mike, you're the best. I'll see you on the next one, man.
Thank you, my friend.